All right. All right. We're done talking about Jake Paul. So now, all right. So what do we do when we have a campaign that isn't working well? Okay. So now there's two types of not working well. Let's say we're not getting impressions. What does one do with PPC, Sean? If we're not getting impressions, do we need to increase the bid, or like what do we need to do?
Yeah. What I would do is look at whether or not it has a suggested bid. And if it doesn't, then that could be an indicator of a low volume keyword. And then look, if it does, whether or not you're competitive. But generally, you do want to increase the bids. And if it's not getting any impressions, the really cool thing is with the bulk file update that Amazon just rolled out, you can actually download zero impression keywords, which is just so legiondary. And so now what you can do
is that? Say that again.
So you can now access zero impression keywords with the bulk file. Before you weren't able to do that. Yeah. So before, when you were optimizing bids, if your keyword was not getting an impression, then you have to go into
right.
Yeah, it will not be in the report. Yeah, if it doesn't have an impression, it doesn't pop up in the report. And so there's no way in the bulk file, I mean. And so like you'd have to click on the campaign in the ad group to make the change. But now with Amazon's new update they rolled out, there's zero impression keywords that you can download. And so now you can download them and you can make changes in the bulk file at scale. So like if you got 1,000 keywords that don't have any impressions, you can just pump in a formula and just, increase those bids by like 25%, 30%. So it makes handling zero impression keywords much more scalable. And
here's my issue. Like I got no impressions on keywords. I'm like, my product makes sense with this, it should be showing. Show me, Amazon. Is that kind of, so it's like a spend, or so what one would like general areas you'd want to check, make sure there's volume. And then
and usually you can check volume by like whether or not it actually has a suggested bid. Because my theory is that if it has a suggested bid, then it's hit a volume threshold. Whereas if it doesn't have a suggested bid, that tells me that Amazon hasn't deemed it significant enough for them to send out a suggested bid. That's my theory on it.
Could you actually get impressions on something that does not have a suggested bid though? I guess I've never really looked close enough at my data to see that.
We've seen that.
Okay.
Yeah, you can. Yeah. It's just lower volume, just way lower volume. And so like you said, it's just a lower volume keyword.
So then I guess that's a good place to switch now to quickly. We covered right there what to do. We'll just quick switch to Taylor because I think you got an answer here. So, but can't you show for very low volume ones on AMS quite easier than on PPC? Like I've seen my long tails get that I can never show for on PPC on AMS.
Honestly, I would say I would trust your word for it because I've never really looked into see the comparison. Since I don't deal with sponsored products, I actually don't really know. But I know that if it's zero impression, it's indexation and raising your bid. It's one of the two things. And if you can see that there's a suggested bid, like Sean said, that's great. But those three kind of things, suggested bid, indexation, and raising the bid.
Okay. All right. So that's what they do. If there's no impressions, those are your bullets, and see what you can do. Just don't set $10,000 as your budget and increase the bid. Okay. So then now what to do if it's not like just general ideas what they should do if, it's getting impressions, but it's either not like nobody's like, it's not converting, or it's not, see, how do I put this into words? It's not converting well, or the bid is just too high, but it converts well. So this is like the ACoS is just too high. So the general problem here, when we've got a high ACoS, what do we do in general?
So what you want to do is the goal here is, if possible, the goal here is to drive down the CPC, right? So that's what you want to do, because if the ACoS is high, you've got a high bid. I mean, you're converting. You just got a high ACoS, so you got to drive down the bid. And so that's where like our bid optimization comes in. So you don't want to just completely kill it, because that destroys like your ability to pop up in the ad auction, but you want to drive it down over time because you're trying to lower that CPC.
Oh, okay. Yep.
I would say really important, if the keyword performed well and the ACoS has gone up, a lot of people can blame that on like competition increasing, but really it's like, you got to take a holistic view. Did your rating drop for under 4.3? Are you going into a slow season? Is there a huge competitor that started bidding? Did you get a negative review that got pushed up the ranks, and so it's showing as the #1 review? And taking a look at the listing and the overall like holistic view. But if it's always been kind of a high ACoS overall, it again still might be one of those factors. So it's good to consider them. But like Sean said, if all of those are out of the picture, it's like, okay, you're gonna have to go in and decrease the bid and just do damage there.
Okay, so you're saying people need to dig into it, see what the problem is. Was it an increase in bid, or was it a conversion issue? Your conversion is dropped.
Yeah, and conversion ties to all those factors.
Yep. Oh, okay, yep. That's a good framework. You diagnose where the problem is.